Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Beth, and I am with the Education Alliance. At the Education Alliance, our mission is to bring businesses and communities together to support public schools. We are passionate about helping students explore career opportunities and develop skills that they need for future success. And one of the ways that we do this is through work-based learning programs like this one, which connects students with industry professionals to gain insights. Today, I am excited that we have Bowles Rice with us, and we are going to be hearing from Carly and Rick. Thank you. Welcome.
Right.
Well, I guess we can get started then. I can't see the classroom very well, but how many students do we have with us today?
We only have 6 with us currently.
Okay. Well, that's not that many, so why don't you guys tell us your names?
Cole, you're next.
I'm Mackenzie.
Okay. Well, it's good to be with you. We'll talk a little bit today about what it is we do here at Bowles Rice, and I will tell you more, and Carla, would tell you more about how we became lawyers later. But for now, uh, just let you know that we both are lawyers at Bowles Rice. Um, if we go to the next slide, we are a relatively large law firm with over 100 lawyers. In states like West Virginia, it's a little unusual to have such large law firms, but there are actually 4, I think, or 5 that are around our size or a little smaller. We're a regional law firm. We're not just in West Virginia. We are in Pennsylvania and Virginia, and we also have attorneys who are licensed in all of the surrounding states as well. And Carly, can you talk just a little bit about, other than lawyers, what kinds of jobs do we have here at Bowles Rice?
Absolutely. So Bowles Rice doesn't just employ lawyers. While the lawyers, are the little engine that could in court, we do not make the machine go. Our paralegals and our secretaries fuel us every day. Without them, we would be nothing, most of us. So we have paralegals, which they focus more on litigation type work. So if you're in an active lawsuit, they're assisting in things like that. And they do things more geared towards attorney work. Legal secretaries do tasks along the same lines, but geared more towards secretarial work. Then we also have a wide range of IT specialists. They can remote in anywhere and fix any problem. We have a really, really great marketing team. They do an awesome job getting our name out there. And you can see these beautiful pictures of our building. They're really proud of us, and they always let everybody know. We have accounting, HR, and then we also have title abstractors. So if you are buying a piece of land and you need to know who owns it, one of our title abstractors will do that. And that job can get really intense. We have cases where oil and mineral interests have been divided and divided and divided and divided, and there are hundreds of people that we have to track down. So that's their job, and we could not do it without everybody.
As you can see, starting in the upper left-hand corner of that picture, that's the Charleston office, which is our largest office. The second picture is our current Martinsburg office, but we are actually building a new office right now in Martinsburg, which is clear on the other side of the state. And the third picture is where Carly is. That's the Morgantown office. Below that is the Parkersburg office. And below that, I think, is
Point.
South Point. And then at the bottom, what's that?
That might be South Point from the other. That building looks funny. I wonder if that's South Point from the other side, or maybe that's where our Winchester.
Oh, Winchester. That's
It could
probably
be
what
where our
it is.
Winchester PO is.
Yeah, I guess the main difference between our firms and most of the firms that you maybe have some experience with is it's so large, we literally don't know what all our buildings look like. But there's a good reason for that. we do a great deal of work for a really wide variety of clients in multiple states, and we just don't get the chance to visit all the other offices. Um, One of the problems with the way that lawyers are portrayed in society, and in particular on television or the movies, is that they often show lawyers being really rude and difficult and screaming and yelling. We can both tell you that lawyers who act like that are usually not very successful, and that it's really quite unusual for lawyers to behave the way they do in movies and television. At our firm, we have what's called the Bowles-Rice Respect Credo. This is the statement you see right in front of you, in which we emphasize that we're all part of one big team and we value what everybody does to make the firm operate. And we insist that people treat everyone with respect and consideration. So whether you're a partner, one of the owners, or whether you're a brand new entry-level employee working in a copy room, we insist at our firm that people be treated with respect. And we find that that's a quality that people really want to see anywhere they work. But I just want you to know that lawyers really aren't like they appear on most media.
That's absolutely right. We actually, every time I come across somebody like that, I think, he just gave me a really good dose of what not to do. So, it's a good lesson nonetheless. On our softer side, on that note, we really like to get involved in our community. So we've developed two really, really great community involvement tools. One of them is Bowles Cares. So Bowles Cares is it's our mission. We just get out in the community and we get involved in projects. Most recently, up in Morgantown, we volunteered at Stepping Stones, which is it's a center for children with disabilities, and they put on this free event. It's an arts festival. They have like over 600 kids in attendance, and we went and just made hats for the kids and hung out with them. You see there on the screen a picture of us. We do Habitat for Humanity, so we'll get down and dirty and build the houses. We also do things like we'll visit the Rosenbaum house and we make dinners and serve them to people. We do Christmas. Around Christmas, we'll pick a kid and we'll all get together for that. Let's see, our Martinsburg office most recently did like the old blankets that you used to tie together where like one has one pattern and the other has another. Martinsburg recently got together and did that for a group, and I believe sent them to a nursing home. So that was really special. And then a couple of our members are read aloud. So they go into schools, children much younger than you all that can't read, and we read to a class. So, and then Rick's going to talk to you all about our foundation, which is also really special.
One of the things that people think about when they think of lawyers is that they make a lot of money, and there's some truth to that, of course. But what did they do with that money? Well, years and years ago at our firm, the group of partners who were there decided to put a large amount of money into a foundation. Now, that was their money, but they just decided not to take it. And it was millions of dollars, and they decided that we need our own foundation to support so many charities that are important in the lives of West Virginians and also people in Pennsylvania and the surrounding states as well. And so a foundation was created, and that the initial amount of money is then used to fund annual giving to various charities. We're also big supporters of WVU and the law school in particular. And we also support public schools in many, many ways. Carly and I are both education lawyers, which means we work with school districts like Wetzel County and others, K through 12 schools, and we provide assistance to them. But we do a lot of free work for school boards and the School Board Association as well, and that's part of our community impact. Go to the next slide.
All righty. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Oh, nope. All righty.
We want to play some videos for you. These are like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to just give you an idea about two of our practice areas.
Yep. All right.
Are you all able to hear that? No, they're not. Okay. Well,
Oh,
that's all
I
right.
don't. Yeah,
We
I don't.
don't
I
have
was
that
gonna say I
much
don't
time.
know how to fix it.
Yeah, we don't have that much time anyway. So, just to highlight two things we do. The first thing we talked about was litigation. The second is nuclear energy. Um, Litigation is being in court, being in a lawsuit, what we call civil lawsuit. Nuclear energy obviously is much more narrow. And if we go to the next slide, the big point we wanted to make is this: anything and everything in your life is in some way touched by the law. Um, we have, oh, I see your teacher, or Beth says she can send the video later. Cool. Um, Whether it's your school, like for example, right now, if you're working on a test or a quiz or homework, there is a federal law that addresses who the school system can share your schoolwork with. There's a state law about that as well. The United States, we are, we live by the rule of law, and it affects everything. Now, I believe this class is business law, and that, of course, gets into everything from what kind of organizations you can have, LLCs, S corps, sole proprietorships, etc. And it gets into how we finance those businesses and things like that. But whether it's land or construction, we have a lot of school construction law cases, environmental law, employment law. People get hired and fired, and there's all kinds of lawsuits over that. Banking, coal, oil, gas, energy, including nuclear, which is why we included that video. No matter what area it is, even getting into family law, like if there's a divorce or child custody or adoption, every area of our lives, there's a set of laws that apply to it. Um, but we want to talk real quickly about two different kinds of law. Civil law is where we're in, not in criminal court. We're not talking about people being charged with crimes or going to jail or being arrested or indicted. Civil law is just where people and companies go before a judge, or an arbitrator, which is kind of like a judge, and they work their differences out. 1,000 years ago, we worked our differences out by hitting each other over the head with big mallets. Now we work our differences out by going in front of a judge, and we have a set of rules that we all agree to obey, and then the judge or a jury gets to decide how to resolve our dispute. Part of civil law is what's called mediation or alternative dispute resolution. That's a big thing now because most people really want to avoid going to court. It takes forever, it's extremely expensive, and both sides usually find it's better if they try to work it out themselves rather than let a judge or a jury figure it out for them. And Carly can talk to you about the other side. We don't do a huge amount of this, but we do some of this, the criminal law.
Yes, so I had a criminal hearing yesterday, so I told Rick, it's fresh in my mind, I'll take it. We are a civil defense law firm, so primarily we defend people who have been sued, but that being said, we still do all of those things, and we still sue people too if that's what our clients want. So criminal law is something that we do touch. Most of it is state level law. It's things like, particularly in West Virginia, we have a lot of drug offenses, things like that. Obviously, there are the murder and the more heinous crimes, and hopefully we're not dealing with those. But if we're involved, we are defending the person who has been charged or criminally accused with whatever it is, whether it be a misdemeanor or a felony. Those are two different levels. A misdemeanor is a lower level crime. A felony is a higher level crime. In terms of business law, we actually do we dabble sometimes in, when you say white collar, I guess you kind of think like Wall Street white collar, but even on a small local level here, we do have some white collar crime. And it's not necessarily what you think. Like I said, it could be two members of a business and one of them is, siphoning money out under the table, or they have entered a bad deal, something like that. And in that sense, it can become criminal. If we have a civil case that then we find that there's a criminal nexus. And then there is also on the federal level so there are crimes on the federal level as well. Again, those are not ones that we deal with too much, but we do have a relationship with the district attorneys here, and we know we can call on them if we ever have a case where there is a federal nexus and we want to get them involved. And then also kind of in the criminal law bucket can be the family law. They sort of overlap. Like if you think of a Venn diagram, I would put like family law in between them because it can go both ways. Sometimes something will start out as criminal. Maybe there's been a domestic dispute or child neglect charges, and then those are handled in both family court and in criminal court. So you can also have more than one action pending at one time, and everything kind of overlaps. So the law can be transient in that sense.
So looking at the next slide, so how do you become an attorney? We don't have a huge amount of time, so we're going to make this relatively short. If you're interested in becoming an attorney, the first thing you have to do is get a bachelor's degree in anything. My bachelor's degree is in music, so you could literally study anything, but you have to have a bachelor's degree in order to become an attorney. The next step is you have to get into law school. Well, the way to get into law school, among many other things, is that you have to take the LSAT, the Law School Admission Test. The score that you get on that is sent out to the various law schools that you apply to, and based really in large part on how well you do on that test, schools will or won't admit you. There are law schools that only accept 4 or 5% of the people who apply, and there are law schools that accept most of the people who apply. WVU has a good law school here in West Virginia, and it's one of the last law schools in the country that's reasonably priced. And so this is not a bad state to go to law school in. But then you have to actually finish the law degree and graduate. But even if you do everything I just said, you're still not a lawyer. You have to take the bar exam. Every state has some form of a written bar exam where you are demonstrating that you know enough of the law in different areas of the law that they can give you a license. And throughout your career, you have to maintain that license to practice law in whatever state you're in. Let's go to the next slide.
Really quickly, do you all have any questions on any of this? No?
Anybody
can't hear you all
excited to go
very
to law
well.
school?
Yeah.
Well, I know that I have a question. I know that Rick, you told us your background was in music. Harley, do you care to share with the students what your background was in and how you made the leap to law school?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to the University of Charleston, which is just right down the road from where Beth is sitting. I earned dual degrees in political science and business administration. The political science degree really gave me that government knowledge that I needed to get into law. I also took a constitutional law class. And then the business, the other side, it just kind of makes you think a different way. And then I went to WVU, and like Rick said, it is one of the last reasonably priced, but fantastic. I got the best education, law school. They teed me up perfectly to pass the bar exam. So, and then I stuck around in Morgantown after I graduated from law school, and I work in our Bowles-Rice Morgantown office.
And I was actually a teacher. I taught high school and college before I went back to school to become a lawyer. Educational law turned out to be a pretty good fit for my background. Looking at the next slide, I think we already covered this. If there are any
Mhm.
questions about how to become an attorney, let's go to the next one.
Was there any more questions before they move on? Just want to make sure that if any of the students have questions that we get them answered. I know we're on a little bit of a time crunch, but just want to make sure.
What time does class end?
I think she said 2:20.
2:20. So we've only got 6 minutes.
Okay.
So I know I was in high school once, and I was not always super participative in these sort of things. But I need you guys to. Somebody's going to have to volunteer real soon in your class. Um, One of the skills that you develop as a lawyer is the ability to formulate an argument. When you think of an argument, you might think of things like the Jerry Springer show or videos you see online, people screaming at each other, and that's not what we're talking about. The idea of an argument goes way back to ancient Greece, and people making a point and a counterpoint and trying to win people over to their way of thinking. So real quick advice we would give you on how to make a winning argument is to know who it is you're talking to. So, like, if you're trying to convince a police officer of something, that's a lot different than trying to convince your mom of something. Think about what appeals to that person. Stick with facts you know. One of the worst things that could happen in an argument is that you say that something is true and your opponent points out that it's not true. Suddenly you have no credibility, and the person you're trying to convince, they just don't believe you anymore. And then say exactly what you want them to do. One of the biggest problems in communicating with people in the law and work and life is that people often don't say what it is that you want them. They don't tell you what they want you to do. So, you know, be clear about what you want, know who it is you're talking to, and stick with facts that you're absolutely sure of. So, with that in mind, we would like two of you, any two of you, and you have to get closer to the microphone because we can just barely hear you. We would like two of you to support and oppose one of these ideas. The first one is raising the speed limit to 90 on major highways, which I'm all in favor of. The second one is eliminating safety regulations so businesses could grow faster and not have all that red tape. But it's the next one we would like you to argue about, requiring all teenagers to be home by 8 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So, who will be our volunteers?
Oh, we've got them.
All
Oh,
right.
he was up fast.
These look
Okay.
like winning arguments.
So, what are your names?
Mackenzie.
Okay, Mackenzie, let's go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
Mackenzie, I would like you to argue for teenagers having to stay home or be home by 8 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and convince us using those three things we talked about. Know your audience, stick with facts that you know are true, and what was that last one?
Say what you want others to do.
Yeah, tell us what you
Rhymed.
want to do. So Mackenzie, you go first. And again, we can barely hear you, so you'll need to
And
speak
maybe
up.
go back on the slide so she can see.
Sure.
Yeah.
There
All
we
right.
go.
Go right ahead.
Well, weekends, like late nights or weekends, are like really dangerous for teenagers. And I mean, parents really care about their kids being safe. So I, oh, there's a lot of stuff kids could get into after 8 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays that could possibly harm them or like lead to death. And like driving is dangerous. So I guess
All
that
right. Thank you. And now the counterpoint from who? Okay.
Let's hear
Now
it,
you,
Cole.
now you convince us that we shouldn't have this 8 p.m. curfew.
We shouldn't have this 8 p.m. curfew because kids, they need that sense of freedom. They need that. Kids just uh hold on, let me think here. It's they need that. They need a chance to grow. How are they going to learn? How are they going to learn that way if they're um
I
have
tell you what, let me make a suggestion. What's a fact, a really important fact that you could just state that would make it very hard for kids to be home by 8 p.m.?
sports?
Sports? What else? What else do kids do?
Um, kids have
At least my kids. They have jobs, right? So a lot of kids have to work. So see, that's the kind of thing you might point out is just black and white facts like kids have sports. They don't control when the game starts. Kids have jobs. They don't tell the boss when they're going to leave, that sort of thing. Um, and so um, that is just, and thank you both very
Yeah,
much. You're
thank
very
you. Good job.
brave. Most high school kids are not that brave. Very good. Um, um, but that's just a little bit of what it's like to get up and argue a case. And moving on, though, real quickly, and this next one, we're not going to have a lot of time for, but part of what you study in this class is ethics, and ethics and morals are very closely aligned ideas. But a good way to put it is ethics is about competing notions about what is good or what is right. Lawyers are required to follow a code of ethics, and we even have to pass a test before we can even take the bar exam on our code of ethics. But let's look at this first hypothetical here.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
I would like you all to think about this. There is a train, it's on a track, and it's going to kill 5 people. You can pull the switch that you see there, and it will just kill that person. Now, do you pull the lever and kill 1 person, or do you do nothing and let it kill 5 people? So this is what's called an ethical dilemma. There is no right answer. There's a legal answer, which is you should do nothing. But is that what is right or what is good? You're going to let 5 people die when you could easily spare all their lives except for 1 person? That is the big question. And what do you guys think about that? Do you agree with the legal answer, which is you really shouldn't get involved in this? Or should you pull the switch?
Let's see. Show of hands. Who's pulling the switch? Oh,
There you go.
oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
There you go. And see, that's the whole point, is that even though that makes all the sense in the world and it's logical, there are other competing notions of, is it your right or duty to harm, to involve yourself and harm this other person who was going to be fine, who for some reason is sleeping on a railroad track, um, or should you just let nature take its course? These are the kinds of really difficult ethical things that we think about when we're trying to talk about what is right and what is good. And now the second one, real quickly. Okay, this one is kind of close to home for a lot of us because we have so many chemical companies. Imagine that you are a young, new employee at a chemical company. You find out that the company is doing something illegal, like dumping chemicals in a field instead of recycling them or hauling them off to a repository where they're safely stored. They're just dumping it right in the ground. Now, your parents also work for this company. They may have helped you get this job. And like the rest of us, you need to get a paycheck to survive. So, should you report that they are doing this thing, or which is, potentially could cause the plant to be shut down or cause you to lose your job, and your parents could lose their job, or should you do nothing?
Show of hands. Who's doing nothing? Okay. All right. Are
And
the
who's
rest
go-
of you
who's
ready?
going to report it?
I'm reporting it.
I'm
Yeah.
reporting it.
I'm recording
Now,
it.
now think about this though. Look at what it says. It says they're engaging in illegal actions that could harm the health of the community. Are you really sure that you know that what they're doing is even illegal? Remember, I talked about with arguments, not kind of tying the two things together. You should only press facts that you are 100% sure of. Maybe there's a step between doing nothing and a step like going to the authorities that's in between there where maybe you can find out this isn't really quite as bad as you think, and you should, you know, exercise some patience first before you go and accuse a company that employs all these people of doing something that's so dangerous. Um, there's a saying called what is it? I can't think of it. Is it patience is the better part of valor or something like that? Um, in any case, though, discretion is the better part of valor. That's what it is. Um, so these are things that on their surface seem like, well, sure, I'm going to report it, but then if you stop and think about it, maybe you shouldn't. This is the kind of stuff that lawyers do every day, all day. Going on to the next slide. Um, what do lawyers do all day? Carly, how would you describe what you do all day in your job?
Well, some days I look down and I'm not sure what I did all day, Rick, and that's what it is like to be a lawyer. You will spend all day some days putting out what seem like such small fires to you, but to your client, it was the biggest deal in the world that they got that letter, or they got that subpoena, or they got whatever it is. And they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to call you panicked, and they want you to address it right that second. So you have to drop what you're doing and do it right that second. So that happens all the time. Other days we're in court. We're doing depositions, which means we're sitting down, we're asking somebody questions to use for or against them in the ultimate litigation. Rick and I do a lot of presentations in our role as lawyers, just like the one that we're doing here. And some days I don't move from my desk. I'm glued to my screen, drafting all day long. So it just depends, but it's always something new, and I've never done the same thing 2 days in a row.
It is, that's a good way to put it. It's never the same thing 2 days in a row. But if I were to describe what you do mostly, you read a lot, you write a lot, and you talk a lot. You're constantly interacting with people, but once you graduate from law school, you still need to learn things and relearn things. So we are constantly reading and learning and then writing in a way that our clients, nearly 100% of our clients are not lawyers. So we have to write in a way that they can understand what it is we're saying. So if you like to read, you like to write, you like to just sit and think, which is what I do a lot, this could be a good profession for you. It is a one of the higher paying professions in our state. And as I say, you guys are lucky. You're in a state where in-state tuition is not very expensive to go to law school. So if it's something you think you would enjoy, I encourage you to look into it further. Did you have any other questions? I think I heard the bell ring.
You guys have
I want
any
to add one.
questions at all?
I was gonna say I want to add one thing really quick. We also help a lot. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here on people's worst days. So if you have that mindset and you're geared towards helping and solving a problem for somebody, and you love to read and write, being a lawyer is something that you might want to consider going forward.
Did I see a hand pop up there? Is there a question?
One of the questions they had was, do you provide resources for like your applicants that are applying for your jobs to make sure that they are coming across the right way, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think it depends on the job. We probably recruit secretaries and paralegals and receptionists and people work in the copy room, maybe slightly differently than when we recruit lawyers. Lawyers are recruited directly from law schools and from other law firms sometimes. But in terms of applying, I think it's pretty much like every other job. you fill out an application. I think without exception, I believe we interview everybody at least over the phone. And then I'll tell you a little inside scoop. Then they send your name around to everybody in our law firm and they say, hey, we're going to hire this person. Do you know this person? And so that way, you know, if somebody thinks, oh, this guy's a nut, well, then maybe we won't hire you. I don't know. But the point is, you know, your reputation is really important. And so, you know, you want to stay out of trouble and do your level best to be a straight player. And so when your name comes up, that we don't have anything negative to say. I
Any
could
other
see
questions
Bell
before you
has-
guys dash?
They're dashing. Any questions?
I know. I remember dashing when the bell rang.
Well, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you
Yeah.
all. It was
Yeah,
we
no,
enjoyed
so,
you.
Thank you,
yeah, so
guys.
thanks everyone for joining us. And even though, you know, we're on a time crunch because we had to get started late, I think we still got some really valuable information. So we're super excited to have you guys. This recording will be available on our website. Just go to educationalliance.org and find work-based learning. Thank you.
Thank you.